Picture this. You're standing in the queue at your local supermarket, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead like a swarm of corporate drones. The trolley in front of you belongs to Sarah, a mid-30s marketing executive with a sharp bob haircut and a reusable bag emblazoned with some eco slogan. She's loading up on organic kale, artisanal cheeses, and that overpriced almond milk that's supposedly sustainably sourced. Her card swipes without a hitch, but she catches the flicker in her eyes. The quiet calculation of how this haul edges her closer to maxing out her credit limit. Across the aisle is Mike, a freelance graphic designer in faded jeans and a band tee, methodically scanning his items, basics like rice, beans, and whatever's on discount. No frills, no impulse buys. He pays in cash, pockets the change, and walks out with a subtle grin like he's just outmaneuvered an invisible opponent. Fast forward 6 months, Sarah's world unravels when her company downsizes. Redundancy hits like a freight train. She's got that recommended 6 months emergency fund tucked away in a high street bank account, earning a pittance in interest. But as the bills pile up, mortgage, car payments, the gym membership she can't cancel without a fee, she starts dipping in, first for essentials, then for morale boosters like a new outfit for job interviews or takeaway to ease the stress. Before she knows it, the fund's hemorrhaging, and she's back to square one, scrambling for gigs while the interest on her growing debt compounds like a virus. Mike, on the other hand, he faces the same storm. A client pulls out, income dries up, but his approach is different. Instead of a bloated cash pile sitting idle, he's built a moat of invested assets, index funds, dividend stocks that generate passive income even in downturns. He sells a few shares if needed, but mostly rides it out, his portfolio growing through the dip. No panic selling, no lifestyle inflation creeping in. Mike emerges stronger, while Sarah's still drowning in the system's quicksand. This isn't just bad luck, it's engineered. The so-called emergency fund gospel, 6 months of expenses and liquid cash, is peddled as salvation, but it's a Trojan horse, lulling you into complacency while corporations siphon your potential wealth. It turns savers into sitting ducks, their money earning next to nothing, while banks lend it out at fat margins. Sarah bought the myth. Mike saw through it. My name is Warren, and I spend way too much time obsessing over the invisible strings that corporations pull to drain your wealth. Today, we're dissecting the emergency fund lie, why 6 months of savings is a dangerous myth. Buckle up, we're exposing how this safety net is really a noose around your financial freedom. Let's rip the mask off this sacred cow, the 6-month emergency fund. It's framed as unassailable wisdom, a script handed down from baby boomers who survived recessions with pensions and job security that no longer exist. Save 3 to 6 months' expenses in cash, they chant, like it's the 11th commandment. But this is no benevolent heirloom. It's a systemic trap, a lie engineered to keep your capital locked in low-yield vaults where it benefits everyone but you. Trace the forensic audit back to its origins. The concept didn't sprout from some altruistic financial sage. It was amplified by the banking cartel in the late 20th century. Post-World War II, as consumer credit exploded, banks needed cheap deposits to fuel their lending empires. Enter the emergency fund narrative, popularized in the 1980s and 90s by financial advisors tied to big institutions. Think Dave Ramsey or Suze Orman. Well-meaning, perhaps, but their advice aligns suspiciously with bank interests. Historical data from the Federal Reserve shows how savings accounts ballooned during economic scares, like the 1970s oil crisis or the 2008 meltdown. Banks hoover up these funds at near zero interest, today often under 0.5% after inflation, then lend them out at 5 to 7% for mortgages or 20% plus on credit cards. It's planned obsolescence for your money. Keep it liquid, keep it stagnant, watch it erode. But the mathematical reality bites harder in today's gig economy. Inflation averages 2 to 3% annually per UK Office of State Statistics, meaning your safe fund loses purchasing power every year.
Factor in opportunity cost, that cash could be in a diversified portfolio returning 7 to 10% historically, Vanguard data, and the trap reveals itself. Corporations like HSBC or Barclays don't just hold your money, they weaponize it against you, using your deposits to finance the very debt products that ensnare consumers. It's a cartel move, the Phoebus of finance, financial establishment extracting billions annually from savers, where emergency advice ensures a steady stream of idle capital for their profit machines.
This isn't paranoia, it's pattern recognition. The script tells you to hoard cash just in case, ignoring how cases have evolved. Job loss now means longer unemployment spells. ONS data shows average UK redundancy recovery at 9 to 12 months, not 6. Health crises, NHS waiting lists stretch funds thin. The lie persists because it's profitable. Banks extract billions in spread profits annually. Wake up. This wisdom is a relic designed to confiscate your growth potential under the guise of security. Now, let's plunge into the psychological glitch that makes this trap so insidious. Parkinson's law. Coined by Cyril Northcote Parkinson in 1955, it states that work expands to fill the time available for its completion. Apply it to finance, and expenses balloon to devour whatever cash is on hand. That 6-month fund, it's not a buffer, it's a behavioral black hole, luring you into complacency and unchecked spending. Here's how it works. Humans are wired for resource optimization, or rather squandering. With a fat cash pile labeled emergency, your brain reframes it as available. Subtle shifts happen. A necessary home repair turns into a full renovation because, hey, the money's there. Marketing teams exploit this glitch masterfully. Banks like Lloyd's send nudge emails. Your savings are secure. Why not treat yourself? It's weaponized ego, managing your pain points by normalizing dips into the fund for non-emergencies. Suddenly, a job blip justifies upgrading your phone, Apple's latest, of course. Or self-care becomes a spa day funded by what was meant for survival. Tie in the hedonic treadmill. We adapt to improved circumstances, chasing ever higher baselines of comfort. Research from Kahneman and Dayton 2010 shows happiness plateaus around $60,000 income, yet spending escalates. Corporations accelerate this treadmill. Amazon's one-click buying, subscription traps from Netflix, making it effortless to erode your fund. They upsell yourself to you. You've earned this, whispers the ad copy, turning savers into consumers. Ego gets hijacked. That fund feels like abundance, triggering dopamine hits from spending, not saving. Studies in behavioral economics, Thaler 2015, reveal mental accounting biases. We compartmentalize money. Emergency cash feels less painful to spend than invested assets, which carry loss aversion weight. Banks know this. Their apps gamify savings with badges, but quietly promote linked credit products. It's a dark pattern. Inflate the fund to 6 months. Watch Parkinson's law siphon it through lifestyle creep. Result? You're back to zero, reliant on their loans, perpetuating the cycle. Corporations don't just extract wealth, they program your psyche to volunteer it. Rebellion starts here. Recognize the glitch. Question every need. Is it emergent or engineered desire? By exposing this, we hack the matrix, opting out of their ego traps. Time for the brutal audit. Let's forensic knife this myth with cold, hard numbers. Assume a typical UK household. Median salary £35,000 gross, ONS 2025 data. After taxes, 20% income tax, 12% NI, that's £26,600 net. But factor in the real hourly wage, subtract commutes, 2 hours daily at £10 opportunity wage, work-related decompression spending, £500 a year on lunches, coffees, and you're down to £20 effective hourly wage. Monthly expenses, £2,500, rent, £1,200, food,
£400, utilities £300, transport £200, MISC £400. The 6-month fund, £15,000. Sounds prudent, right? Wrong. Inflation at 2.5%, Bank of England forecast, erodes £375 annually. Bank interest? Pathetic 0.5%, yielding £75. Net loss £300 per year. But the real confiscation is opportunity cost. Invest that £15,000 in an S&P 500 tracker. Historical 9% annual return, adjusted for 2% inflation, equals 7% real return. Compounded over 30 years, using the formula FV equals PV times 1 plus R to the N. That's £15,000 times 1.07 to the 30 equals £114,185. Your safety costs £99,185 in foregone wealth. That's £1,000,000 of freedom bled out over a career. Scale it up. Small monthly dips compound viciously. Say Parkinson's law tempts £100 a month in unnecessary spend from the fund, replenished by salary. Over 30 years at 7% opportunity, £100 times 1.07 to the 360th minus 1 divided by 0.005833 annuity formula equals £138,000 lost. Add debt traps. If the fund depletes, you borrow at 19% credit card APR. £5,000 loan over 5 years, total repaid £7,800. £2,800 extracted by banks. Mathematical inevitability. In volatility, cash drags. Monte Carlo simulations, Vanguard models, show invested portfolios survive 95% of market crashes with liquidity via credit lines or bonds. Cash, it drowns in inflation. Real cost audit. That £15,000 idle means banks lend it at 5% mortgage rates, pocketing £750 a year per saver, scaled to millions. UK savers hold £1.5 trillion in deposits. Bank of England. At 4% spread, banks siphon £60 billion annually. Your fund fuels their empire. Bottom line, the myth isn't safety, it's surrender. Audit your own numbers. The ROI on rebellion is exponential. Here's your framework to hack the system. The cash moat rebellion. Ditch the 6-month cash myth. Build a layered defense that's a small act of rebellion against the banking cartel. Start with the 1 income rule. Live on 70% of net pay, invest 20%, buffer 10%. That buffer isn't bloated cash, it's a moat. £3,000 to £5,000 liquid, 1 to 2 months, and the rest in accessible investments like ETFs or bonds. Opt out of the cycle by weaponizing credit wisely. Secure a 0% interest line or HELOC as your first-line emergency draw, repayable from assets. This buys back your freedom. Money works for you, not banks. Frame discipline as defiance. Every unspent pound is a finger to the system siphoning your wealth. Use time buckets. Allocate now, liquid; soon, bonds, 3 to 5% yield; later, stocks. When crisis hits, draw from buckets sequentially, minimizing opportunity bleed. Track with apps like Money Dashboard, but audit monthly. Is this spend rebellion or submission? Result? Compound growth turns savers into owners. £10,000 invested at 7% doubles every 10 years. Your moat becomes a fortress. Rebel by educating. Share this with one person. Starve the cartel of compliant consumers. Smash that like button and subscribe for more content that challenges how you think about money. I'll see you in the next one.